This is the I Am Salt Lake podcast, showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today.
Welcome to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 11. My name is Chris Hollifield, and tonight I am recording in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City. This is kind of a special midweek episode. I do not know if this is a direction that I'm going to be going. I would like to occasionally post an episode up midweek as well as our regular weekend episode, but I don't know if that will be too much for you guys. I know there's probably a million other podcasts that you want to listen to, but I just have so many really awesome conversations with people in episodes that I want to get up. So I don't know. Give me some feedback. Hop on over to iamsaltlake.com and drop me an email. Connect with us at our contact information and let me know if an occasional midweek episode would be okay. So in this episode 11, I had an opportunity to talk to Patric Bates. He's a Utah artist out of Utah County. I found out all about him and found out more about his art and what he's been up to and what he will be up to here in the future, as well as where you can get his art. In the interview, we mentioned that he does not have an Etsy store. Well, between the interview and posting this online, he did actually, in fact, create an Etsy store that I'll be posting a link for that on the show notes for this episode 11. So go over to iamsaltlake.com and check out the Patric Bates show notes, and I'll put a link in there for his Etsy store as well as his other projects that he is up to. So anyways, like I said, that will connect you, iamsaltlake.com, with the previous episodes of the podcast, as well as you can connect with us on iTunes, as well as there's a link for Stitcher Radio for the Android users and other MP3 users. Connect with us and give us some feedback and comments. Those are much appreciated. Seriously, I could not do this without your guys' feedback that you have given me so far and the constructive criticism and everything that you've been able to do so far. So thank you very much, Salt Lake City, for letting me come into your homes and introduce you to some wonderful people that is making this area what it is. There's some really awesome people out there, and hopefully I'll have an opportunity to showcase each one. So if you're a local store owner or a band or anybody that's doing something really cool, get in touch with me, because chances are I'm going to want to talk to you. So I don't want to ramble on much more. I just kind of want to jump into the conversation that I had with Patric and let him share his story a little bit, because he's got a really awesome story. So thank you very much, Patric. This is episode 11 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Stay tuned for after the interview, and I have some other stuff I want to share with you. So anyways, this is Patric Bates. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm talking with Patric Bates. He is a Utah-born artist. Is that correct? You were born here in Utah?
Yeah, I was born in Price, Utah.
Price, Utah. And at what age, how young were you when you first got interested in art?
I was interested in art basically from an early age. I remember, I guess basically the first time I can say that I was like interested in art or creating things was, I grew up in the 80s. I was a child of the 80s. Uh-huh. And there were coloring books in the closet, and I have two older brothers. They're just 1 and 2 years older than me, respectively. And I saw them drawing little pictures in this He-Man coloring book in the cover. And it was the first time I noticed that people were doing something besides coloring something somebody else did. And I don't remember exactly what kind of stories were going on in their pictures, but I realized that I could create a universe, I guess.
So who were some of your early influences, like in your teenage years when you probably got more developed as an artist?
Excuse me. Some of my early influences, I didn't really get into the art world historically until later after my teenage years.
Oh, okay.
But I had always drawn and always done things in this Patric-ish style, which is similar to what I do now. I remember one teacher in particular pointed me to Hieronymus Bosch, which was a Northern Renaissance artist in, I guess, the 1500s or so. And his little bazaar, the big, giant painting, The Garden of Earthly Delights, she said, "This looks like something that you would do." And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, this guy's weird. So
somebody who has
early on, it was...
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I guess I can finish that off, I guess. Some of my early influences, my now roommate, my best friend's father, Walter Wilcox, was somebody that really encouraged me early on. So he was influential as far as he'd always tell me that there's a way to market and there's a way to get your stuff out there and actually make money doing what you're doing. And like I said, he's my best friend, his father, and now he's my roommate and the co-founder of Pink Bus Gallery, which is where basically what we're doing right now is trying to get local artists to sell.
Excellent. And I want to touch on that here in a minute. But for somebody who isn't familiar with your art, how would you describe your style as an artist?
How would that's a good question. It's very illustrative. I like to think of it as fine art. But it's very illustrated. It's pen and ink and watercolor primarily is what I use. I've been compared stylistically to a Maurice Sendak of Where the Wild Things Are and other contemporary illustrators like Edward Gorey. It's fanciful, but it's not fantasy. I have an affinity for or an appreciation, however, of storytelling, confining characters or faces, whatever, into a big composition or a story. So I would describe it as fanciful, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I stumbled upon your art on Facebook. Really, is how I discovered you, and I mean, it just it blew me away, really. So, I mean, back to earlier you even mentioned you really didn't get into art. At what age did you start really drawing and saying, "Wow, I really get enjoyment thoroughly from this," and you took it to the level that you're at now?
In high school, I was doing a lot of the same types of compositions that I was doing with just drawing. And I remember in high school thinking that I could make it as an artist and everything like that. This, I graduated in '99, so you can see the difference between '99 and 2012. Okay. I had one individual come up and approach me and want to give me a studio back in the '90s, and that turned out that was a crazy story. But I had drawn. I joined the Army in 2000. And the whole time I was active duty in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, I had drawn. I draw all the time, and I started doing throughout the Army. I was drawing a lot, and I developed a comic strip that was called Dewey and Mortuary in my Army years. That was done primarily when I was deployed to Kuwait. But I didn't start painting and using color in my work until about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when I had taken watercoloring class. I didn't think paint would ever work with what I was doing until I took a water media class, and Catherine Downing of UVU pushed me to do a lot of paintings. And at first I didn't use any pen, I didn't use any figurative. It was not figurative, it was all abstract expressionist style, emotional paintings. I did several hundred of those in that semester, progressing what later became a signature of my painting, which is the red that you'll see in a lot of the skies that I paint. Uh-huh. But I was picked up by a Painted Temple, which is in Provo, or was in Provo, and they wanted me to do a show there, and so I had a show of all my abstract expressionist stuff. It wasn't until Tani Schuler, another professor in the next semester, pushed me to take what I had been doing, which was drawing, the same kind of style, and put paint to that. And I was apprehensive because I don't have too much like for bright colors in what I do. because my stuff is really busy. I thought if I added color into this.
So did you go to school for art then? Did you get a degree in art or?
Yeah, I took the GI Bill and decided to started going to school, and I was going to school for a while thinking that I was going into graphic design, and I got my bachelor's degree in a Bachelor of Science in graphic design. But by the time I had and had decided that painting was kind of where it was at, and so then I used to.
What was that? You kind of were breaking up on me a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, I got my first bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Science in graphic design, and I was painting still, and I decided to go back to school for a BFA in painting and drawing with a specialty in water media, which is what I do right now. And I should be graduating next semester with that degree.
And you're going to school down at UVU?
Yeah, it's UVU.
So let's talk a little bit. You were mentioning at the beginning about the Pink Bus Art Gallery. What exactly is that for somebody who like myself who's not familiar with it?
The Pink Bus Gallery is last year. I decided to get my work shot so I could do prints because that's what I wanted to do, and because that's what I had been doing before. And I was doing that a little bit, and I got in touch with Walt Wilcox, which is my, like I said, my best friend's father. And, I decided that, I'd always known him as a professional artist, and that's what I believed him to have, done with living. But it turned out like, when you're a kid, you think one thing, and he's like, yeah, I remember talking to him, and he was just, he expressed that that's what he wanted to do with his life, is be an artist. And I was like, well, kind of no time like the present, and we decided to try to form a group, and basically sell together. Basically, it's better to have two people than one. And so we ended up selling together, and that's what we have been doing. At least 2 shows a week, whenever we can, just to sell and to actually meet the people that would like to purchase the art, which has been really great because I love talking to people about, I'm a little bit reluctant to talk about my art too much, not because I'm embarrassed. It's my art's very fluid to myself. It's like, try to explain a painting, it's like, oh, I don't know, it's just a thing I painted. But it's been really great for me to talk to people about that and actually come out of my shell. I wanted to, and we both wanted to, basically hit head on, and whatever criticism or praise that we could get out of that would be great. But actually try to make a living, primarily on selling art. And he's got a pink VW bus, 1974, and we figured that was a good symbol for what we were doing. And so we did a lot of traveling in the pink VW bus. He quit his job and basically just dedicated his life fully to doing art, and which was it's really exciting to me to be able to say, I'm going to either sink or swim. I'm either going to be making a living, or I'm going to be completely poor, and trying to find that balance between being really poor and actually being able to eat.
So you mentioned that you sell twice a week. Are you still currently going out now and selling then, or where can people find you then with the Pink Bus Art Gallery?
They can find me physically. Like this week, we'll be doing the Happy Valley Farmers Market at the Riverwoods in Provo,
Okay.
which is by the Winslow. That's one that we're doing Fridays right now. Well, it's basically a farmers market, and basically right now it's farmers markets. We're doing that one, the Provo Farmers Market, and maybe the Salt Lake Farmers Market. So we're gonna splinter off while he's doing Salt Lake, or he or I, and the other person doing Provo Farmers Market. We have a Craft Lake City's holiday show that we're looking to get into, which is at the gallery Eleven Center in Salt Lake, from November through December.
Yeah, I
And
saw the
Park
post
Silly,
on that. Yeah.
yeah, and Park Silly, which is usually an event that happens in Park City on Main. I think it's Main Street. Uh, they're usually in the summer, and we were doing that this summer. And they're having a holiday show as well up in Park City. I think that's like a 2-day thing that we're going to be doing um, in the winter, and basically anything that we can get, because the winter months for traveling and doing shows that we have been doing is not like last year. We weren't able to do very many. I did a lot of gallery work and shows like that, but it wasn't the same as putting up a canopy and selling under there.
Absolutely, and I notice the Pink Bus Art Gallery is on Facebook, and I'll definitely throw a link up for that on the I Am Salt Lake website, so people can check you out there, and hopefully I'd like to see you do that Galavin event, just because those are usually a lot of fun. You did Craft Lake City in the summer, didn't you?
Yeah,
And how
Craft
did
Lake City was great. I think that how did that go?
yeah, how did that go?
Craft Lake City was probably the funnest. I mean, that one in Park Silly, but Craft Lake City has been the best. My favorite show. It seemed like we had. It was just a rich environment of basically, I guess, my target audience.
Yeah.
Which is what I saw, and it was really great to see so many artists and everything. The farmers markets are more they're not primarily art, and they're not people don't go to those for the art usually. I feel like in a place like Craft Lake City, it was like a good environment for getting in touch with people that would be interested in this my little crazy world, and then Walt's world. So it was great. I loved it to death. I mean, I'll definitely be there next year.
So this last year was your first year doing Craft Lake City, then?
Yeah, it was my first year.
Excellent.
It was just, I mean, it was run just so professionally, and I loved how they organized it. So
yeah, my wife makes clothing, and she's taken part. Craft Lake City is one of her favorite events as well. So
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about you mentioned Studio 760. What exactly is that? What is your role with that?
Studio 760. I've always had an interest in doing art shows with collaborating with a bunch of artists. I started with a show called The Truth, Youth, and Ecstasy, which was basically me getting a bunch of artists. The first one we did was in a model home. The second and third were done at the UVU library. Progressively getting more artists on board with that one. It started with 9. But Jake Buncher is another student at UVU. He's a photographer, and we ended up being roommates and decided that we wanted to fill a house with art. And so we decided to do that, take that undertaking and fill the house as much as we could with art. The first one we had 33 artists, and that was in October last year, and 3 musicians, or 3 bands, I should say, that played with us at that show, and it was a really good success. We were able to envelop, a lot of the house with art. We had a good turnout. We decided to do another one in March of this year, and that one we got over 70 artists and 6 bands: Moth and the Flame, Boca, Tapeworms, Scott Shepherd, and several other bands, Bittersweet Grass, and it was basically the pinnacle so far of having of that kind of thing. I love the fact that so many artists got together to fill that house. It was like just basically ceiling to baseboards filled with people's art, and we had a special room in there for the music, and I just remember there being, a line to get in, and just, standing room only, and just crowded house. And it was in the house that we lived in Orem, and it was great. I mean, I loved working, Jake Buncher, working with him, and then Walt Wilcox with Pink Bus. It's just being able to collaborate as opposed to going it alone is just fantastic.
What is it with Utah County lately? I've noticed. I mean, there's awesome bands coming out of there, artists. I mean, it just seems like there's so much energy going on down there right now. I mean, anything held account? I mean, what's the cause? What do you think? I mean, what?
Um, it seemed like it ebbed and flowed for so long, and you know had its ups and downs. But there's several things that are there magic about Utah County, I think. Especially Provo for me. I grew up in Provo mainly, and there's the right components for a lot of things. I mean, it's the most conservative place that you can imagine politically, but it gives this stark dichotomy, or there's this big separation between the juxtaposition of like a progressive artist and that kind of atmosphere. I think there's something about that that's appealing to me, and I mean, it's not necessarily political, but it's artistically, it just seems to be there's people that can flourish in there. And what I didn't want to see was like everybody just moving to out of state and all these great minds. And I've just noticed throughout the last 5 years that I've been doing art shows and stuff like that there's so much talent, and I've seen people come and I've seen people go, but there's so many names that I could just rattle off in Utah County that have been here and that are here, that are eager people to do art. It's kind of weird because it's been my life for so long, and it's been always something that I'm definitely interested in talking to any artists that like to do their art. So I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, like with the music scene, there's a great music scene in Provo. Basically, I would say that Provo is the mecca for Utah right now as far as music's concerned, which I think goes hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of the bands down there just lately are just blowing me away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have the one band that I just went to their CD release, Book on Tapeworm.
Yeah, I love those guys. I love them.
Yeah, Scott Shepard of Book on Tapeworm. Yeah, he actually we were roommates for a time at the 760, and
nice.
So he was a resident of the 760. Yeah, I did art for Ferocious Oaks for a while. They're another band up there. They're just fantastic, and just tons of bands and tons of local music that I think that people can definitely enjoy.
What inspires you to keep going, and how do you keep yourself motivated?
It's there's a lot to keep me motivated. I think that there's positive response to the art that I do, which is a definite for me financially that's a good indicator that I can do this, and I can wake up in the morning and say you can get that going. But really a lot of the motivation comes from like seeing other people excited about what they're doing, because it just validates, validates each other. I mean, to support an artist in the community, it's not competition to me. It's just definitely, if I can support them, I can support myself, basically, and give validity to this level of artisticness that's here. I don't want to live in a place that people aren't interested in it, and there aren't other people to be inspired by. Talking to people about their art it's a thing that can pick me up. Just with all the artists, Kelly Larson, Gabriel Komish, Jake and Walt and everybody, just being able to sit down with art friends and talk about the community as a part of responsibility that you have as an artist to help a community be. I just think a great community has a huge need for creative thinking. I mean, that's in 150 years. I'd like, you look back at a lot of societies, and it's like art.
Yeah.
That's like the brand identity for a city sometimes.
What do you think the most challenging thing is about being an artist? What do you think the most challenging thing is?
I think most definitely the biggest challenge of being an artist is figuring out a way to market your work and to get into an audience. I think it boils down to the most difficult thing. It would be the thing that you would expect, and that's money. Because it's a romantic idea that you can be an artist and you can be a poor artist and you can be a struggling artist, but I can talk about that like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great, I'm gonna struggle, but that's okay. But in the end of the day, the struggles are very taxing. Like last year, there was a lot of times where it was like, am I going to be able to buy food for tomorrow? And I think the artistic struggle is a ubiquitous artist struggle around the world, is being able to do it, because it would be easy for some people to quit doing that, but like I say, there's just a market for everybody. And I think if you have the tenacity, the calculation, and the organization, if you have all those things, that you're able to really punch through and actually make it, and keeping your eyes on the big picture, but realizing that you have to do things baby steps. And that's frustrating, because I'm at X level. I would like to be at Y level, just so I can be able to sit down and paint more. Because a lot of what I do is the business end, and I don't have a representative or anything, or an agent. And I think figuring out a way to do the business end so I can focus on what I do, that's a struggle.
So what advice would you give somebody who's a new artist, somebody who's just starting out?
I would give the advice of take some risks and don't burn your bridges, because I have my fair share of being emotional about the business end, and you burn one bridge, and I think you end up learning. Basically, the three things that I basically realized that I needed to have, which I could give an advice to an artist, is be tenacious. Don't stop. You always go, no matter what. And that includes, and with that, if you ever have a morning that you don't want to get out of bed because you're depressed, get out of bed and walk the streets and do whatever you can. The littlest things, walk the street and publicize yourself. There's so many days where I would go out and it would seem like I just did nothing. I just wasted a lot of time. But it's just sticking to it, I think, is like the backbone of other things, which would, I would say, be calculate your risks, calculate how you're going to do things, and organize yourself. I mean, you can think that a successful artist is this crazy, eccentric person that is not organized, but I think the most successful artists are the people that organize your life, which is, that's kind of hypocritical about that, but the more I organize myself, the more successful I feel.
Excellent. And so when you're not creating art, Patric, what other interests do you have? What are some of your other hobbies?
My relationship and children are big with me. I like to run. I guess if I'm not making art, I like talking about art. I like studying art history. Yeah, just I like to be social as much as possible. A lot of my life does encompass art.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll be talking about Cezanne or Renoir or Aubrey Beardsley or something like that.
Well, excellent. What events do you got? I mean, just to kind of wrap things up, I mean, what events do you have coming up, and anything else you want to mention? What events do you want to kind of plug and mention here?
I have this week we have the farmers market, and in the Happy Valley farmers market at the Riverwoods, like I said, and the farmers market in Provo, and hopefully Salt Lake this week. Usually it's either that, or people call and text me and say, I want some art. I get that a lot. My Facebook page is basically something that I wanted to have people be able to go to and say, hey, there's this print. I like to deal with people on a personal level as much as possible. So if you Facebook me or text me, you can be like, hey, what's up? I would, ask me questions. And that's always cool. I mean,
Do you have an Etsy site or no?
I don't have an Etsy site right now. I need to build one of those. Um, Basically, it's been in person or Facebook that I've dealt with people, and I don't mind. Somebody wants to meet me in a coffee shop. I've done a lot of that. They'll be like, oh yeah, I saw your stuff at Juice and Java or somewhere else, and I'll be like, yeah. I mean, I've dealt with that. I've with selling paintings in coffee shops, like actual paintings and stuff. So questions are always good if you're interested in any type of art.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm easily accessible. I think if you want to call me or whatever or text me, I
E-
hope
Excellent. Yeah, and I'll list all the website information and contact information, like I said, on there so people can get in touch with you. I think that's kind of one of the neatest things I think about Utah in general is the how well everybody works together. It's like everybody scratches each other's backs. You help you out, I help me. Everybody's kind of helping each other out.
Yeah, I don't think the art world is dog eat dog in any. That would be a bad move. I've seen people do it. I've seen people. I can't. It's not a business of selling anybody out. It's a business of working together.
Yeah. Well, I got one last question for you. It's become one of my favorite questions. Is what do you say when people say, "Oh, there's nothing to do in Utah"? I mean, what is your response
If
to
there's
that?
nothing to do in Utah,
Well, people have that stigma about Utah or Provo or Orem or Salt Lake City, or saying, "Oh, there's nothing to do." But then you find they're just lazy and sit on their couch. They're not really doing anything. What is your response to that? Just
well, I mean, I think the only response, especially in Provo, is there's a lot to do. And there's a lot of great businesses and places to go in Provo. I mean, by getting on your feet. Uh, um, Velours there, Black Sheep Cafe is there. There's, I mean, for me, I mean, I just see it as something that's, it might not be like the biggest nightclub place or whatever, but I can't imagine too many other places that would offer me what I would like to do. Live music, if you want to see live music, Velour and Muse, um, they're right there in Provo, and like we were talking about before, is there's a lot of great music to be had in Provo. I mean, it's like a great place. Um, yeah, I mean, get out there and talk to people.
yeah, get out and do something. Don't
And
don't just be lazy, I guess.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of an adventure to not have everything handed to you. I mean, if you like outdoors, then Utah County's great. If you like, anything, Provo's just got everything. I mean, I might be a boring person, but there's a lot of things that I like to do here. Um, it's got the lake and the
Oh no, it's
mountains.
you're far from boring, Patrick. You're a very very interesting person. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought you on the podcast, which I definitely appreciate you coming on and talking to me a little bit
Oh, thank you, thank you.
and finding out more about you. So yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add or say or?
Not much. Basically, yeah. If you guys are interested and you like the style or you like what I got going on as far as the art's concerned, then I'm more than happy to talk to you. And I mean, prints that I sell are usually $10. Um, I have bigger prints and I have a couple paintings, and it's pretty. And any questions, a valid question, as long as you want to talk to me about your favorite artist or who I remind you of or anything. Talk about art any day. So.
Excellent, excellent. Maybe I'll get a chance to bring you back on the show and even talk to you and Walt and talk about the Pink Bus Art Gallery, because that sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
But anyways, I appreciate you coming on today, Patric, and hopefully, if anybody wants to get in touch, they get in touch with you, and we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, and thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh,
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Patric. All right, the big announcement for this episode is I am in search of looking for some new intro and outro music for the podcast. I'm reaching out to the local bands in an effort to continue to make this more local based. If you're a local band and you don't care if I use any of your music for podcast episodes, like a singular episode or multiple episodes, get in touch with me. Hop on over to the iamsaltlake.com and hit one of the contact information. I'm not really asking for you to write me a song. I'm just asking for your permission if it's okay to use possibly one of your songs. There's been a few bands that have reached out so far, and I definitely appreciate that. For those of you that have email links to your Bandcamp sites or just email me MP3s directly, I thank you very much for that. I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to integrate them into the show. What will work better? I kind of want to create a permanent one and then kind of stick with there. Of course, I will give your band the credit. I'll give a shout out to you, obviously, because you deserve it. I'm going to be using your song. So get in touch with me, iamsaltlake@gmail.com, and let me know, hey, that's okay, and then connect me through. So also, I want to tell you a big thank you to my wonderful wife, Suzanne, for letting me record this podcast episode at Sorry Clementine Clothing, handmade clothing. She's got her boutique downtown at 366 South, 500 East, number 104. It's Walgreens is just north of there, so it's in the Ray building. Stop on in there and say what's up. Say you heard me talk about it on the I Am Salt Lake podcast, and check out her store. I'm not sure of her exact hours yet, so I will be posting those on the website, iamsaltlake.com, under the blog notes. Check that out from time to time. I'm just kind of updating that as well. So anyways, thank you very much. For her for letting me record some of the recent interviews that I've done with people out of her boutique. It's been a nice opportunity, so check that out. Also, get in touch with us. Send us any messages you want on the hotline, any upcoming shows that you might be doing here in the Salt Lake area, or anything you want to promote. Connect with us at the iamsaltlake.com. Also, let's see, what else is going on? This upcoming Sunday, I'm going to have another episode of the podcast with Project SLC. It's a great group of guys that are doing a lot for Salt Lake City for the shows and whatnot. And I don't want to ruin too much, but they'll be in the next episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. So anyways, connect with us. We have a lot of really awesome things coming up in November, some really awesome announcements that I'm really eager to share with everybody, but I don't want to jump the gun too soon. So keep in touch. Let us know what you think of the show. Subscribe to us on iTunes and give us some feedback. That really helps our ratings out. So we can get more exposure, because that's been the biggest challenge of this show is trying to get in front of more people in the Salt Lake City area that might appreciate listening to it. So if you have any other ideas as well, or if you want to be on the show, connect with us as well. And I think that's going to about do it for this episode. So I really want to thank Patric Bates for coming on board and willing to talk with me and tell me his story. I truly believe that each person out there has a story to tell. So until next time, everybody, my name is Chris Hollifield, and this is the I Am Salt Lake podcast. And thank you very much for listening in. You guys have a great evening.
Hey, I am saltlake.com. I just wanted to call and leave a message. I was looking on Facebook and thought what you guys have going is pretty cool. And I wanted to let you know there's a costume party this Friday at 5 Monkeys, and it starts at 8. And it's with Maverick and the Sweetheart Rebellion, and also my stage exit. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I believe the cover is only $5, and they've got really inexpensive drinks and delicious food. So hopefully everyone can make it, and if not, there should be lots of future shows, and that'd be great if everybody could like Maverick and the Sweetheart Rebellion on Facebook. They also have a free Android app, and you just search Maverick Rebellion. Thank you so much, and